Okay, so I'll come back to the screen now. So when you log in for the first time, the screen would be blank. And so once you are here, you would need to create your classroom, right? So how do I create a classroom? I log into classroom.google.com using the school provided ID and password. You can also access the classroom with your personal Gmail account, but for the school, we normally use the education account specifically that is being created for this purpose. So once I'm logged in, I'll click on this plus sign and I'll create a class. So to create a class, I need to enter the class name, section, subject, and room. So these are four options that you have to enter. I usually enter everything on the first option only. So suppose English 6th A. Uh, so I have entered it there, English 6th A, and I'll just go ahead and create the class. Right. You can always fill in the other sections if you want, and if you want, you can leave them blank. There is no hard and fast rule to what you should have put in a section or a subject or a room. You are free to choose. Usually, you should keep a class name that is descriptive so that it is easy to understand. So when I went to this class, I just named it English. Just correct the spelling out there. 6 days. So anyone looking at this class would now understand this is the English class for class 6, A section. Okay. So any questions anyone has on creation of classroom? Any questions, any doubts anyone has?
No, sir.
Okay.
So I have a question.
Yeah, Shilpa.
I am Shilpa from Indira Nagar. Sir, in room, is it mandatory to fill the room? Because I was trying beforehand also.
Mm-hmm.
So after creating a classroom, there was some code was coming, that class code. So is
Yeah.
there any link between that room and class code?
No, man, that I'll discuss in a moment from now.
Okay,
But
okay,
there is
sir.
so the only mandatory field that you have to fill in is the classroom name, right? Now, suppose this is, I'll tell you what the difference is how between the other things. Now, I'll say, and I put that capital G for a purpose. Now, when I create a class, this is also classroom is for class English class, and we say A section. But normally, it is the way how it appears that would really make a difference. So, in the first one, I say English, and A section is put in smaller because it came that way, and the room is not nowhere visible. But the one which I created, everything was visible on one line only. So it is entirely up to you how you want to create it. There is no hard and fast rule कि आपका section अलग में लिखना चाहिए या साथ में लिखना चाहिए. I personally put everything in one line, so it is easier for me to or the student to see English 6th day. इसमें ऊपर में क्या है, सिर्फ इंग्लिश है, मुझे नीचे सेक्शन में थोड़ा छोटा लिखा है. So it is entirely up to a person how they want to create a class. Okay, does that answer your question?
Okay.
Any other
Yes,
question?
sir. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so I'll create one more class called G-Suite Education Training.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, Abhijit.
I'm Samir Shukla.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I am facing an issue that if I am logging in with my personal email ID, that is okay, and classroom is created.
Mm-hmm.
But with the ID that is being provided from a school end, it is saying that this is invalid ID, and as it has been given in the list, I am pasting that only, but not anything is happening there. Wrong ID, and this thing is
What is
mentioning
your
there.
ID, sir?
Sir, it is on the list, the 78th, the last one. You can see there.
This is your ID.
Yes, sir.
No, so this is the correct ID. So maybe there is a typo error or something. So
Sir, I'm pasting it only.
no, you just
Copying
type
it
it
and
manually.
paste.
There could be while you're copying pasting, there could be issues in copy and
Sir, I
pasting.
have tried it 3 or 4 times.
Then you'll have to connect with the local IT sir to get the ID check, because I would not be able to look into an ID specific issue at this session. Or maybe after the training we can talk about if there is an ID specific issue.
Sure.
Right?
Sure, sir. Sure.
Though since you have brought it up, I'll just quickly check if that is a valid ID, because all the accounts were
Okay, sir.
created by me myself, and so I'm sure. You said your name is Sabi, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's Samir. So this is your ID. Maybe you're not typing it out correctly. That's all I can think of. So once we have created the classroom, next is we will have add the students. Madhulika ji, it would be nice if you could mute your mic. Thank you. Can I request people to keep their mics muted if they do not have any question to answer? Dr. Viva, you have raised your hand. Let me know if you have any specific question. You can unmute your mic and ask the question. Okay. So once we create a classroom, next is we need to add students to it, right? Now there are two ways in which a student can be added to a classroom. The first method is by sharing a class code. So once you create a classroom code is generated for every class. So a code is unique. It is randomly generated. You and I cannot decide what the code would be. Google systems will automatically generate a code, and then students can go to classroom.google.com, click the plus sign on the top right and say join class. Once they click on join class, it will give you an option of entering the code, right? So if I click the small square box out here, it will make the code big, and you can share the code with the students to join the class. However, this is not a recommended method, because the code is unique to every class, and anyone with the code can join the classroom, right? And so you may not want that everyone with the code should be able to join the classroom. So normally, I personally suggest that you should not be sharing the code. However, when I say it's a recommendation, it means if you feel that you want to do it, you can always go ahead and do it. But the only reason I normally recommend not to share it, that so only you can restrict the people who are there in your class, right? So that is the first option. The second option to add the students in a class is I will click on people, and here I have the plus tab. Using the plus tab, I can add the list of the students that I want in my classroom, right? So here what I'll do is I'll click the plus sign and click on invite students. So here we now need to invite the student. You have to invite the students from your school, which means you have to enter the email addresses of the student that is provided by the school. You cannot add a personal Gmail account out here. It will not let you add it. So you can only add the email addresses of the students of your school. So we have created email accounts for all the schools, all the students in the school, and I will be sharing that list out here. So you can filter out the students that are for your section and add them. For the sake of this demo, I have pulled out the list of all the teachers. I went there and pasted the list all together, and I'll say add recipient, and I'll just send out an invite. Minutes still appearing. I see Ram has joined using the code, and I'll try to invite it. So I've put it here, all the IDs here, and I'll say invite. So that means now I have selected the people who should be a part of this course without sharing the code, and you all would have received an invite on your classroom.google.com. It says couldn't invite Sarita because Ram has already added herself. That's okay. That's expected. So So rest of you would have got the invite to be added to this school. So maybe you can go to the head to classroom.google.com and accept the invite. So this number out here does not show the number of students that you have invited, but it shows the number of students that have accepted your invitation to be a part of the classroom. Okay. So in the same manner, you might want to have more than one teacher for a classroom, and so you can invite another person as a co-teacher, right? So to add a co-teacher, the process is same. We will click the plus sign and enter the email address provided by the school, right? I emphasize every time by the school, which means you will be only able to invite someone who is part of the school. If someone is not a part of your school, you will not be able to invite them. Okay. So I see that 10 students have accepted it. So whoever keeps accepting it, this number would keep increasing, and the names of those people would become highlighted, would become dark. People who are yet to accept, their names would still be grayed out, and it would show the invited status. So I'll pause for a moment and wait for any questions if anyone has on class creation, adding of students, and adding of co-teachers. If anyone has questions, you can unmute and ask your questions now. Okay, I think we are good to go then. So this is the place where you will be adding the student, and if you have to remove a student, you can click from here and say remove, or so you can remove the student from here. Let me say I'll select student. Remove, so I can remove the.
उठेंगे सोएंगे
Reena ji, can you please mute your mic?
I'm
Thank you.
Hello, sir. I have some queries.
Yeah, Anita ji, please go ahead.
Actually, sir, I think like some students are not added in my class, so they are directly go join my class with code.
Yeah, so they can add, if you share the code, they can directly add it. But I said,
Means there are no any privacy. Means anyone have the like class code, then directly they join my classes.
yeah, anyone within your school, not outside your school. So if you are trying to add someone will try to add themselves from a Gmail account, they will not be able to do it. But if someone within, maybe you're taking class 10, for example, and someone in class first enters that code, he or she would be able to.
Like I am from college, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there are many students like 4 and 5 student and 10, 20. But one student doesn't ID, and then she is able to join the direct class
No,
using the code.
No, to join the class, the
Means
student
that,
should have
that-
the ID provided by the college or the
Yes,
school.
yes.
So if the student does not have an ID,
It's only eligible student, they have the ID.
yes, yeah, only the eligible students has the ID, and the IDs are managed by the school or the college. And so if you have issue with the ID, or you want any IDs to be created, or password has been forgotten, and those kind of things, the school IT can help you on that.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Any other questions anyone has?
Sir, I'm Sangeeta from Indira Nagar.
Yes, Sangeeta ji.
Sir, I want to ask a question that whenever we are creating the class, we have to enter the student's ID every time, or once we have created means done, so it will be working for the next classes also.
Yeah, so this is a one-time activity for a class. You don't have to do it. Once you have created a class, you don't have to create it again. You can always add and remove students based on the requirement, but you don't have to go through the entire process creation and inviting student every time. Okay. Any other questions?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Hello, sir.
Jain, sir.
Can I
Jain.
created a section in class?
I'll come on to this section. Sunita ji had a question.
Okay.
Sir, can we make students attendee?
Attendee से मतलब मैं आपका
They can't disturb class.
मैम अभी हम we have not reached to that session yet. अभी हम सिर्फ क्लासरूम क्रिएट कर रहे हैं. So I think most of us has an assumption कि जब हम Google Classroom की बात कर रहे हैं, we are talking of live classes. नहीं. It's not about the live classes. Live class will come towards the end of the session where we will talk about the those options. So this is सिर्फ ये इंटरफेस है. For example, अभी आप बच्चों को असाइनमेंट कैसे देते हैं? अगर अभी बच्चों का होमवर्क वगैरह अभी कैसे दे रहे हैं आप लोग?
So through Microsoft Teams.
Microsoft.
Yes. So now instead of Microsoft Teams, we are using Google platform. So as I said earlier, we deal with Microsoft and Google both. But personally, I prefer Google better because Google एक तो सब लोगों को मालूम रहता है, because सब लोगों के पास phone है तो it's an Android phone and they are aware of Gmail. Secondly, the application that is from Google is more lightweight. For example, Teams की application is about 45 MB. However, Google Meet and Google Classroom दोनों मिला के अपने करीब 17 से 18 MB का स्पेस ही लेती है. So Microsoft Teams usually will have a more heavier system requirement, right? But Google, on the other hand, does not have that much of a heavy requirement. But it is up to the school management which way they want to go. So Microsoft Teams is a little more complicated and more suited if you are quite tech savvy and if you have a good device. Google normally will not have that much of a requirement. Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, sir. I have a question.
Yes, sir.
This is Anshuman from college.
Yes, sir.
This class code remains the same throughout the life.
Yes, it remains same unless some teachers does not go ahead and change the code or generate a new code for that specific class.
I want to know if I can change the code.
Yeah,
how I can change the code.
Yeah, so if you go to the settings out here and you have a class code out here and you can say reset. So now it was 2NA, now it will generate something else. So it is automatically generated a new code. Okay. Obviously, you can change the code, but you cannot define the code. You cannot say,
no, I don't want to define. I want to change.
Yeah,
Suppose
so,
someone gets the code that I don't want to share with him.
Yeah, so you can always go ahead and reset the code, or you can even disable it. And when you disable it, at that moment, they will not be able to join using a code.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Go ahead and disable it. Right? So some people prefer कि वो code के through join करें. I personally prefer it is good if you invite the student, so that way code सिर्फ आपको मालूम होगा, किसी student को नहीं मालूम होगा, and you can restrict the people who are joining the class. Because for a student to join directly, the code is only the other option. इसके अलावा if someone invites him, that is the second option, and so only a teacher can invite. So so can we move forward, or anyone has any other questions?
Yes, sir. I'm Tulika from Indira Nagar.
Yes, Tulika ji.
If I have to make I have to create two classes, different subject.
Yeah.
So I have to add same student again or once?
No. So which class do you teach?
Like 7, 8.
Yeah. So in your case, you will have to create two classes. Now I'm going to discuss what kind of classes you should create and what is the recommendation. Again, like I like to emphasize, recommendation is that based on our experiences with other schools that we have worked across India and outside, we give you our suggestion. But still feel free to modify it as per your need, because maybe sometimes one suggestion may not fit everyone, right? So that's right. Now coming back to classwork, I hope there are no other questions, so I can move forward. Okay. So now when we come to classwork, this is the place where we will be doing our maximum work, right? So now when I come to classwork, there's an option called button called create, and under that there are 6 options, right? So the first option or the last option that we see on the drop down is the topic. Okay, so we see topic out here. So now are there any teachers from primary section out here? Or are they all senior classes?
No, sir. We do have KG
Okay.
section as well.
Right.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Thank you for the confirmation. So now the question I asked is, because there are different ways which it is recommended to handle a junior class or maybe primary or pre-primary in comparison to maybe a student of class 5 or 6 or maybe of the other higher classes, right? So when we go to topic, if you are a smaller class, you may want to restrict the number of classes that a student sees on the classroom tab. For example, if I look at here, I see 1, 2, 3 classes, right? Now, for a small child, it may be a little difficult to, to go into every class and then look at the chapters and other things. So it would be a little bit confusing. But if you are a bigger student, it may not be so confusing for you, right? So for a smallest class, what we suggest is that you create topics as subjects. So what I mean by that is English, for smaller classes also will have limited books and limited work. So you do not want to, have too much of a things out there. Maths, right? Now, assume this is a class second where you have created one topic, and then what you can do is you can add all the teachers that are related to class second out here, right? So that means you being the class teacher or the primary teacher, rest of the teachers that come and teach the subjects can be the secondary teacher, and they can come and work on their respective tabs. So what happens, how this helps is that a smaller child is able to see everything under one tab, maths, English, whatever, they can see everything under one tab, right? Now, if you are a bigger class, maybe say class 5 or 6, or maybe even 4, depending on how well the students are with the computer, you may not want to create this like this, but what you would want to create is based on a subject. So you said for English, you will say you have English 6A, right? And then maybe for Hindi, you can create another class. Again, these are recommendations for smaller classes. Also, if you want to create separate classes, you can do it. And for senior classes also, if you want to join everything in one, you can do it. We normally recommend it just to avoid confusion. So we said English 6A, Hindi 6A, and say math 6A. So it takes a few seconds to create a class, and as I said, every class code will be unique, so you don't have to be bothered about that. The class code would be same, right? So now if you're a senior class, maybe you can create one class per subject. So which means now if you are teaching class 6A, now in a normal school kya hoga, you have a building, उस building mein teacher will come, the students are fixed. That means students don't move out every time. Only the teacher comes first. Hindi teacher aaya, then English ma'am aayi, then maybe maths ke sir aaye, and so forth, right? So one thing is fixed there, that the building and the set of students is fixed. Only one person is changing. But in an online class environment, every teacher will have to create their classes. So for example, if you are teaching maths and English, you would be creating two classes, right? For maths, one class, one for maths, one for English. So this is a good practice if you are dealing with a bigger kids. For a smaller kids, you may just want to create one class, put in the subjects, and add the teachers out here as co-teachers. Obviously, you add the students, and then carry it on there. So I'll take a pause and wait if there are any questions before I move further. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, no, all good it seems. So now we'll come back out here, and I'll just delete these topics. So topics are nothing but maybe in a layman's term, I can say your chapter name. So if you're covering a book, it would be your chapter's name. So how do I create a topic? I'll go and so suppose this is an English class, and my first chapter is say now. Okay? Second chapter maybe is word. So these are the chapters of the book. So you have the books from the various publications. So you can refer, maybe you can name your topics as those chapters. Chapters will only be visible to a student if it has any content. So currently I do not have any content in it. So if you go to your classwork or your Google Classroom, which you are joined, these 19 people have joined, 20 sorry, they will not see any of these chapters out there. So for a student to see a chapter, that chapter should have some kind of content. It should have some material related to that chapter or that topic. So now once we have created the chapters or the topics, next we will do is add material, right? So we will add material to that chapter. Right? So how do I add a material? I'll click on the create tab. यहाँ पे क्लिक करेंगे और जाएंगे मटेरियल पर. Now again उस मटेरियल का मैं हेडिंग दे दूंगा. So maybe अगर आप कोई for example पढ़ा रहे हैं कुछ, so you can say noun part 1, maybe part 1, or maybe you can say common noun. So what you are covering is common noun. Right? Now below this you have then the option of adding material. Common noun से related आपने जो भी course content prepare किया है या कुछ भी आप student के साथ जो share करना चाहते हैं common noun से related, आप यहाँ से add करते हैं. आपके पास add करने के लिए 4 options आते हैं. या तो आप अपनी Google Drive से कुछ कंटेंट डाल सकते हैं, मे बी किसी थर्ड पार्टी वेबसाइट को आपका लिंक स्टूडेंट को देना चाहते हैं, स्टूडेंट को देख पाए, या उसमें आपने कोई फाइल बनाई हो, पीडीएफ फाइल हो या कोई इमेज हो जो आप बच्चों के साथ अपलोड करके शेयर करना चाहते हैं, और मे बी देयर इज सम वीडियो ऑन यूट्यूब विच यू वांट टू शेयर विद द स्टूडेंट. सो फॉर द सेक ऑफ डेमो आई विल पिक अप यूट्यूब. और इसमें आपके पास ऑप्शन आता है यूआरएल. अगर आपके पास यूट्यूब का पूरा लिंक है तो आप यहाँ पे डायरेक्ट डाल सकते हैं. अगर लिंक नहीं है आपके पास यूट्यूब का, राइट, सो देन यू कैन ऑलवेज गो एंड सर्च इट, राइट. So like this is a video a teacher had created, and now we are sharing this. She uploaded it on YouTube, so we are sharing it with the students, right? Now once we have done this, on the right side, this material को I have to map it to the correct topic. That means material जब आप create करते हैं, it does not get mapped automatically to a chapter or a topic. You have to manually select it. So for example, let's say this is regarding noun, and then here I have an option of posting, scheduling, right? So post means if I post it, students will be able to see it right away. बच्चों को भी तुरंत ये दिख जाएगा. However, if I schedule it, so then I will decide when will the students be able to see this material, right? So I can schedule it and click schedule. तो आप जो भी date and time यहाँ define करूँगा, उस समय वहाँ पे visible होगा. So I'll go ahead and click on post. And so now you can see that this material has been posted under that noun topic, right? Also, if you go to your classroom, you would be able to see this material now. I'll take a pause now, and I'll ask if any one of you has any questions. Any questions, anyone?
Yes, sir. Can I ask something?
Yes, Dr. Q.
I am associated with Sunbeam College, Bhawanpur, sir. You said that when you deal with students of higher classes,
yeah,
you need to create separate classes, separate subjects, right?
Right.
Okay. So, for example, if I take one subject, so we in college we have say 4 sections, right? So
Right.
if I take one subject in all the 4 sections, do I need to maintain the records of all the 4 sections separately?
Yeah, so this is the whole idea of creating a classroom is that you can assess what is going in the classroom. Now, if you are taking that class of 4 sections all at together, then maybe you can just create one classroom. But if you are taking it separately, then it would be recommended that you create one class for every other section, because whatever tasks you are assigning, that would differ from section to section, and when you are assigning, that also would differ.
Definitely, definitely.
Because if you put it all in one, then they see everything as one. For example, I posted common noun here in section A, but maybe in section B you don't want to talk about common noun today, maybe you want to talk about 2 days later. So that is why it is recommended, again I keep emphasizing on the word recommended, based on what our recommendation is, that it is good that you create separate classes, and so then you are also easily able to track which student has which student is in which class, and we'll also further see how it will help you with the assessment of the students.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you so much.
Most welcome. Any other question anyone has?
Yes, sir. This is Dr. Shashi from Sumbeam College only.
Yes,
There's
ma'am.
a question that I'm using two of my email ID, one for my teaching purpose and one is my personal. And my Google Drive on my laptop is synced with my personal email ID. So whenever
Okay.
I'm trying to share something from my teaching email ID, Gmail ID, it is difficult. Every time I'm logging out and logging in, this needs to be done. So does this college ID will allow to access Google Drive, which is already synced with personal Gmail ID?
No, ma'am. So when you are signing into a Google account, you can sign in into multiple accounts at the same time. You are able to see my screen. I many times log in almost like 7 or 8 IDs. So if you see out here, you can always add other accounts and you can keep switching between the accounts. So if I click on this one, now I'll go to this account.
But it is allowing us to access all the Gmail account. But when it comes to Google Drive, it is not allowing us.
So for Google Drive, one is whether you have synced it. You are talking of the sync client that you have installed, or are you talking of the operating of the drive?
I'm talking about the Google Drive, and it is synced with my personal email ID, and everything is stored over there.
So you're talking of the sync software that we installed, right?
I have not installed anything
Okay,
separately.
no, yeah. So if you go to drive.google.com, you can similarly switch between the accounts.
Right. Every time we need to switch then.
Yes, you'll have to switch between the accounts.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So the whole idea of having a separate account for the school is that one is when you have a personal account, it has certain limitations. Like the storage space provided by the personal account is only 15 GB. Okay, so that means you cannot store more than 15 GB of data. Whereas on a school account, there is no such limitation. You can store as much as data you want.
Fine.
One.
Thank you, sir.
Secondly, on a personal account, when if you try to conduct a classroom, you do not have a way to limit who is going to join your class. Even if you're doing a classroom with your personal account and the code gets leaked, for example, anyone can come and join your classroom. That is the second thing. Thirdly, in case a student is not doing any assignment, they can just come up and say, I forgot my password, so I was not able to do it. So they have various excuses for not doing it. But when you are using a school account, the school IT has access to see whether a student is logged into the account, when is he accessing his account or not, or even if there's an issue with the account like password forgotten or stuff, they can always connect with the IT and they can help. Also, as the school will as the student continues in the journey with the school, then they will have all the data from the time they have been assigned an account till the time the student is leaving the school. From a teacher's perspective, because I assume that the new norm is going to be an online education, at least if not fully, in some or the other form. So the content that the teacher is preparing can be reused over and over again. So that is the whole idea of having a specific Google account provided by the school. So we have created accounts for each and every student across all the Sumbeam branches. I think about 15,000 accounts have been created.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have one question regarding the classes.
Yes, Anita.
I'm from class from college. Okay.
Yeah. Can you be a bit
Actually,
louder, please?
yes. Okay. Basically, I have I created the class BCA fifth semester. Okay.
Okay. Right.
Now there are 5 subjects in BCA fifth semester,
Right.
and I have only taken 3 subjects
Right.
like computer network and C++. Any so need to create 3 classes of BCA fifth semester like C++, then computer network, and any other options. I have created only the BCA fifth semester, then created the number of subjected in this class.
Okay. So your basic question is, how do I organize my class? Okay. As I said, there is no defined structure. If you want, you can create a subject based on a
Like,
topic.
sorry, sir, for interruption.
Yeah,
Like,
please.
you have the knowledge about the Microsoft team, okay?
Right.
And
Right.
I have also worked on that. Then the Microsoft team have one option, like create the class group and create your subject like section, like
Right.
C++ and
Right.
any computer network. There
Right.
are any option available in Google Class?
So basically, what you see is that is the same option when you create it out here. The classroom is the same thing. Microsoft has a different terminology for referring that. Google calls it.
No, no, no. I am only asking any option is available in Google Class.
No, no, the option is already there to see create a classroom, and then you can define your own classroom. See, whatever you put in the label, whether you put in physics, chemistry, BCA, MCA, semester, this, that's entirely up to you. The system is not restricting you to put the label or the what you want to call your classroom. Now, as I said, if you're suppose teaching BCA fifth
BCA
semester,
fifth semester.
yeah. Now, do you want to create your class based on a book, or do you want to go into a subject wise? It is entirely up
Subject
to you.
wise, subject wise.
It is entirely up to you. So you can create it a subject wise. Now, what all you will cover in that subject, like I said, in the smaller class, हमने क्या किया, सारे subject एक ही के अंदर डाल दिए, हिंदी, English, math, सब कुछ डाल दिए, right? That is because छोटी classes में बच्चों को बहुत ज़्यादा confuse होता है, बच्चे get confused हो. बड़े classes के लिए मैंने कहा subjects को अलग-अलग कर लो, और subjects के अंदर भी maybe you want to create a
Need
topics.
to create 3 classes.
Yes. So based on
according
subject.
to you.
Yeah. So it is entirely आपको क्या करनी
And
है.
added the same student again and again.
Yes, ma'am. और same students again and again. क्योंकि जब आप assessment करोगे,
Duplication.
नहीं, I'll tell you why we will add these students again and again in a little while. We'll come to onto that. Any other questions? Okay. So to answering you why we have to add the students again and again. Now, for example, I am taking an English class. I am also taking a maths class. Sarita ji, you may unmute yourself and ask your question. Sarita, I see you raised your hand. You can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Sir, is there any option to mute the students in
No,
between?
ma'am. In Google, we'll come to Google Meet at a later part. So currently, we are only discussing of the Google Classroom, which is where you share assignments and track your coursework. So we'll come on to the Google Meet at the later part of the session.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So coming back to the your question, ma'am. So what we are doing is, if I create everything in one, then when I'm trying to track the progress of that subject, it would be difficult for me. For example, if I put English and maths, क्योंकि मैं इंग्लिश भी पढ़ा रहा हूँ और मैथ्स भी पढ़ा रहा हूँ, दोनों सब्जेक्ट को एक ही क्लास में मैं डाल दूंगा, तो मुझे ट्रैक करने में दिक्कत होगी कि मेरा कोर्स कहाँ पर है, राइट? सो to make it easier for me to track and to search for my content, it is recommended that for every subject to create a separate class. Obviously, there is no technology कि आपको restrict करेगी, नहीं आप ऐसा नहीं कर. If you find it easier कि सारी चीज़ों को एक साथ क्लब करके पढ़ो, तो obviously you can do it, but it will cause confusion from to you and as well as the student. Now, अगर किसी स्टूडेंट को सिर्फ इंग्लिश के नोट्स चाहिए, उसको देखा है मेरे क्लास में मैथ्स के भी नोट्स हैं, इंग्लिश के भी है, साइंस के, so it will cause confusion. छोटे बच्चे के लिए सही है because उसका कोर्स कंटेंट कम है, but on a senior classes you have a lot of course content. That is why it is recommended that you have one class per subject and not to try and mix it. Hope that clears your question.
Yes.
Oh, so we'll move on. So I have now created a classroom. I have put in the subject, and now I have put in the material or the course content. So the topics or the chapter names only with the course content would be visible to the student. For example, people who have joined this G Suite education, they will only be able to see noun and common noun. उनको verb और adjective नहीं दिखाई देगा क्योंकि इसमें कोई course content नहीं है, right? So now, since we have created the course content, we have shared it with the student. Next is we might want to give them some questions related to the course content. So question देने के लिए हम जाएंगे यहाँ पे, click on question, and then we have two types of questions: short answer type, that means the student can write a few words, or a multiple choice question. So I can, for the sake of this demo, I'll say multiple choice and can give a question out here. Say when freedom, for example. Okay, and then I can give my option once. Also, if you want to share some kind of a content with the students, you can always go ahead and add it. And then on the right side, we will see that this again has the same similar interface, whether I want to ask it right now or do I want to schedule it for a later stage, right? So if I schedule it, ये बच्चों को बाद में दिखेगा. Ask में the students will able to see it right away. Then if I want to give marks for this specific question, I can like कितने numbers का question है, और इसमें 1.5, 2.5, 3.5 वैसा नहीं होगा. Numbers would be full, so 1, 2, 3, 4 ऐसे चलेगा, right? So this question is supposed to say 5 marks. Due date is by the date when the student has to complete this assignment or this question. So I'll not put a due date as of now. And topic is again ये किस subject से related है या किस chapter से related. So this is, for example, English class, and I said this is maybe related to say adjective. I know it's not adjective, but it's just for the sake of thing. And students can see class summary means that students are able to see that how many, not which students, but how many students have selected which options, right? And so I will just go ahead and click on ask, and it would be posted out there. So maybe some of you can partake in the question. Specifically, I think 22 people are there. Yeah, maybe some of you can answer the question, and then I'll. So it will help you us to get hands-on, and also it will show you from a teacher's, student and teacher's perspective both. So here we see that the question has been assigned to 22 students. So assigned is the number of students that are yet to do work. Turned in would be the number of students that have completed that task. Okay. So maybe if some of you can respond to that question. Right. So as you see on the screen, the moment you start responding back, it gives us a summary that 2 students have selected that this is the day of, or the correct, not the correct answer, but this is the response that they have chosen. That 15 August 1947 is the day of independence. So now this assigned figure will keep coming down based on how many responses you get. So it was assigned to total 22 students. Out of 22, 2 have responded, 20 are yet to pass. So that figure is going to change. So this will keep changing. Now, if I click out here on turned in, it will give me a detailed view of which student has responded and what was their response. So now here, suppose it shows 2 options, 1949 and 1947. So if I click on 1947, it will show me the list of students that had selected 1947. And if some of you maybe can submit it as 1949, so then I would be able to show you the other view. Okay, so while you guys do that, on the left side here, then you can see that it's got an option of giving the marks now, right? We are given that the question is for 5 marks, and we see that 10 people have responded, 12 are yet to Right. So now I can click on an individual student if I want to see an individual answer. And I said, I know that Anjali has given the answer 15. So there I can go and say that is the correct answer. I can give the marks out here. So this way I can go and assign the marks. I can keep going forward and the system will automatically start sending, right? So once I have checked it, all the questions, I can just go ahead and say the turned in. That means I'll select the people who have turned in. Okay. And
Sunil sir, I have a question here.
yeah, just hold on a minute. I'll just
Yeah.
finish this and then I'll open up for the question. So I've turned it in. Not all students. Turned in students. So I've selected all the students that have turned it, and I'll go ahead and say return. So I'll just unselect one student from this. And I'll say return. And then if I want to give a comment out here, so this is an individual comment that I would be giving to a student. And I'll say return. So now I have three states: returned, turned in, and assigned. So turned in would be the students who have responded back. Returned would be the students who had responded and the teacher has checked that work and responded back to the student. And assigned would be the students who are yet to take part in that assignment, right? So here you see that it is assigned. So many students are yet to do it. And so you can get the overview on that. Yes, ma'am, your question?
Here I can see that the teacher has to manually, give points and marks to the kids.
Correct.
Is there any option of autocorrect so that children get their answers and marks
Yes,
simultaneously?
that option is there. We'll be discussing it in the next topic. Some questions are suitable for auto marks, especially for where you are doing a multiple choice question where a student only has to select. However, if the student has to type out an answer, that may not be suitable for an auto answer or auto mark assignment, because the teacher would need to manually review it. So as I thank you for people who have selected this one, because this helps me with the demo. So now I see 15th August. If I click out here, then I would get the names of the people who have selected that. And this way I know which have selected. And 2 is where I'm giving the marks, right? So for others, I just returned, I'm not giving the marks. So it shows up, right? So this is how we are doing a simple assignment out here. So I'll pause and now I'll ask, wait for you to have if anyone has any questions.
Sir, can I have export in Excel sheet or grades and marks?
Yes, ma'am. I'll be discussing that towards the end once all the assignments are done. You can obviously export it under the grades option. You have an option to export.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, sir, Sunita Upadhyay. Sir, any remarks option is also here?
Yes, ma'am. So if you look at the comments, that is the remarks option. You can either do a comment in bulk, right? Or I can give an individual comment. So now I'll select this, and return, and then I can add a comment out. So I can see the screen, private comment. I can do 101 comment, or maybe I want to put a same comment for everyone. So then I'll select multiple people and say return. And then I can put the same. Right. Okay. I mean, based on whatever comment it is, I'm just taking this really nice way, right? But you might have elaborate comments on the answers and based on responses. Any other questions anyone has? Okay, we'll go move forward. So we have created the class creation. We have also created how to add students, how to add teachers, how to create topics. We learned about mapping the content and asking the questions. So does anyone have any queries on these topics so far? Okay, we'll move forward. तो नेक्स्ट इसमें आता है हमारा क्विज असाइनमेंट. अब क्वेश्चन में हम एक बार में सिर्फ एक क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं. क्विज असाइनमेंट में we can use Google Forms to ask many questions at one time, right? So we will go to quiz assignment. Now when we go to quiz assignment, it will automatically create a form called blank quiz, or usually by default इसमें grade importing का option enable रहता है. In case ये enable नहीं है, it is important that आप इसको enable कर दें. So yeah, we'll see MCQ questions. Right, again the similar structure out here. आप इसको असाइन करना चाहते हैं या शेड्यूल करना चाहते हैं, तो ये तो असाइन होगा. राइट, few questions. Then due date till when the student can respond, and topic ये किस topic से related है या किस chapter से related है. Okay. So I've done that. I'll click on blank quiz. So when I click on this, a new Google form will open up by the name of blank quiz. From there, too many accounts signed in, so that sometimes causes confusion. Okay, I'm looking back. So I can name this form, maybe I can say assessment of learning. Plus some English assessment. And then we have a lot of options to add the questions out here. And you can also import questions from another Google form. So we'll not get into that right now. And we say add question. Again, we can, we have multiple choice questions, right? Like the one which we saw. Then we have multiple choice grid. So what is that? Multiple choice. Oh, that is red, green, blue. Let's say suppose green, silver, plants. Then we also have an option of require a response in each one. That means the student has to reply to every question that is asked. And then we have the answer key. So for example, for red, if the student selects rose, that would be correct. So they will get 1 marks for it. For green, if they select plants, then they'll get 1 mark for it. And for blue, if they select sky, then they'll get 1 mark. Now you see that I've already set the options out here. So this is the way automatically the question paper would be checked. But this is only applicable in the choice of multiple choice question or the question multiple choice grid. Okay. Then we also have other types of questions where you can ask the student to write a paragraph. So here also you can have these options of mandatory, that means it is required. And again, we have an answer key. Now, in this answer key, obviously you cannot, or the system cannot check the answer if it is correct or not. So normally that's why we do not want to give an answer key out here. Maybe you can give it the points. Okay, so yes, but we will just this from here right now, and so we will not put any answer key to the question because that will further confuse the system, because the system you can only give the marks out here, but we should not define any answer key. तो किस पैराग्राफ में हमारे पास आंसर हमें मालूम ही नहीं होगा, because student can write what they want to write. Then we have other types of questions also, where you can ask a student to upload a file, multiple choice, short answer, check boxes, and so on and so forth. So once you've done this, I'll create it here. Required, that means the student has to respond to it. And when we, before doing that, and then we'll also have to check if this form is collecting email address or not. So just ensure that the collect email response is selected. Restrict users to within your school or college and limit the response to one. You do not want a student to attempt the paper again and again, especially if you're doing MCQs. First, you may choose all the A's, in the second all the B's. So you would not know which one to evaluate first. So just ensure that these two options and these two options are selected. Click on save, and we can go ahead and then close it. And I'm going to look at the preview of our form. It will look something like this. Right. And whatever I had said is mandatory, so the student has to respond to all the questions. Any questions on it?
Sunil sir, what does this means, collecting email address? If we send it
Whenever-
without that?
So whenever student is submitting a form, you would not want to know which student has submitted that form, right? So it basically will let you know the email address or the account from which the form has been submitted. If you do not do that, sometimes even we do emphasize it on the training. Sometimes teacher tends to forget that the email address collection is not there. They do an MCQ, the students partake in it, but at the end of the day, they get all the responses also, but they are not too sure which response has been sent by which. Because in an online classroom, the only identification about the student you have is their email address, correct? So that is how
What
you.
about the names? What about the names? Because see, if you see that also have a username which shows Reena Vikram Singh. It doesn't show my email ID. It shows my name.
Correct.
So
that is where we have the grade importing option enabled. It will automatically map it out there in the grade section.
is it mandatory to have that email thing? Can we
Yes,
write down my name and class in section?
No. The email address is because unique thing. Two students will never have the same email address, but two students can always have the same name, right? So that's why to identify the uniqueness of the student, it is important that the system is able to recognize them. That's why the system says that you have to collect the email address and not the name. Because दो नाम से अगर एक ही बच्चे होंगे, आप कैसे आइडेंटिफाई करोगे किसने किया है, right? So hence it is the email address is required and not the name. Because नाम में तो किसी बच्चे ने किसी दूसरे का नाम लिख दिया. In that it is saying collect the email address. It is not asking the student to write in the email addresses. तो जिस account से student logged in होगा वो automatically उसको capture कर लेगा. So there is no way that student ने मान लो किसी दूसरे बच्चे का email address लिख दिया, उसमें लिखा नहीं जाएगा. It will automatically capture the email address of the student. Okay. Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Any other questions you have? Okay. So,
Sunil sir.
yes, ma'am.
Sir, for this assignment, can we use the photo for KG section?
Come again?
This assignment, when we make the assignment, can we use the pictures?
Yes, ma'am. So when you are creating a Google form, you have it out there.
No.
So here we have options. So the add questions. So now you see, so you get this option out here, add image. ऐसे आप अपना image को upload कर सकते हैं.
Thank you so much, sir.
So that image is now uploaded out here. Right? Can you see the image? So that is where the image is. Any other questions?
Sir, in the assignment part, there is an option rubric.
Yeah.
How can I activate that option?
Yeah, I'll come that on to that is more of a useful in the assignment and not the quiz assignment. So I'll cover rubrics and originality reports on the assignment tab in a while.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions you have? Okay. So we will go back to our classroom. Have saved. So rubrics you can use here, but it is not so useful out here. But I'll tell you the concept of rubrics now in this next topic. So the last topic out here is assignment, right? Now, assignment is basically where you want to give a student more freedom and in how they want to do it. Because in Google Forms, you basically are limiting what they have to upload, what they have to write, and those kind of things. Now, an assignment is more of like a project work where you may want to give a detailed project to a student. So, for example, I say how India can begin. And the instruction is please go through the given and write answer. Then I can add a YouTube link, for example, or any material, whatever you have. So whatever I want to do, you can always search for your specific content. I know my spelling is wrong, so apologies for that. And so I said to the students to go through this video and write your answers. And then I said, how will they write an answer? I'll create a document for them. Maybe in Google Docs you want to write. Friends, okay, and I've saved this here. I made one document, and instead of students can view, I'll say make a copy for each student. That means every student now will get their own copy. These are the all options that normally we see: due date, by when they have to complete it. Assign and schedule will always be there. Topic, I'll put it under adjective. And now I have the rubric. Now what does rubric do is it helps us to define a parameter against which the teacher would be evaluating an answer, right? Now suppose say this is a 10-mark question. So I'll create a rubrics. And I say the first criteria is length of the answer. So if the question, the answer is marking method. So he said if the answer is long, and you can say if you write minimum of 500 words, you are getting 2 marks. Like in school, normally we say, na, अच्छी handwriting के 2 number extra मिलेंगे. So this is where you are defining now that how you are going to score this, right? So I can say 3 marks for detailed description of principles, right? And then so on and so forth, we can create our matrix. Okay. So I can just this is the name, this is the description, and then this will talk about how many marks or what criteria in that specific question. Okay. So now when the student is responding, he would know that for what part of the question I will get how many marks. And then we have a check plagiarism or originality report. This helps us to see how if the answer responded by or written by the student is an original answer or is the answer copied over the internet by a student. So if a student has just gone Googled it and he's just not watched the video and maybe just Googled it and just copied and pasted the answer, the teacher would be able to check if the answer is original or not. And so I'll go ahead and assign it now. Okay. And so this is where, okay, so here again we have that similar interface that it is assigned to 27 people that will respond, will turn in, and then I can return. Any questions on this?
Jai Hind, sir.
Ji, ma'am.
Sir, after assigning an assignment, can I edit the template I attach without having to edit each student's copy?
No, ma'am. Once you have assigned it, you cannot edit the template because you are creating one copy for every student. So you are basically given the template and it's already there. And so if you have to edit the template, वो individually हर template को आपको edit करना पड़ेगा.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, sir, thank you.
Any other questions?
Jai Hind, sir. Can
Jai
students attach image to the assignments? For example, they have done some work in copy and notebooks. And
Yes, sir. That they can attach it. So that's why we have an option of description. What is the expectation? Now you want them to type it in document, but they attach an image. So then you set the expectation, right, that what you are expecting. Okay, so that's why your description should be as descriptive as much possible. So student does not get confused. अब किसी बेचारे ने हाथ से लिख के 10 पन्ने ले आया and you are expecting कि वो हाथ से वो टाइप किया हुआ. So that's why it is important that your description is clear on what your expectations are from the student on or what. Any other questions? Okay. Have any of you attempted it? Maybe if you attempt it, I would be able to show you the originality report. If not, then it would be hard to show the originality report. Okay. Okay, we move forward. Now we looked at this MCQ where I'd asked when did India got freedom, and we got the responses. Now, if you're taking a test or something, you would not want the students to tell the answer to the other students. So here we have something called a stream, where we see that Sarita ma'am and other people have posted it out here, right? Now, in a classroom, you may not want the students should be able to post it like this, or maybe at times you may want to switch it on and off. So this is known as stream, and this can be controlled using this tab. So this is known as the gear icon. I'll click the gear icon. Scroll down, go to stream, and select whether student can create a post, or can student only comment, or I want to restrict this option to the teacher. So here, in case before a test, maybe you want to have the option to restrict it to the teacher. So I'll go ahead and click save, and just restrict it now. So the students cannot comment or post anything out there. Is that clear? Now coming back to the stream. So how are you people currently taking the online classes?
So Lisa, there are various platforms, Zoom, then we have Microsoft. Few are also integrating it with Google Meet. So different branches are using different platforms.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am, for that answer. So my question was, my more of a question was to evaluate what you are doing. And so various platforms have various options. So Google Meet also has a nice platform. It's a very simple platform. The platform is mostly available on Android, iOS, laptop, desktop, easily available. You don't have to put in too much efforts into it. And as I said earlier, the software itself is very small and does not require heavy memory and processes. And so if you want to generate a meeting link for your classes, you have to click on generate meet link. Okay. So once you generate meet link, this meet link is permanent. You don't have to share it with the student at any point of time. All they have to go is go to the classroom, click on this link, and they would be able to join the class. Now, there are certain restrictions on this, restriction in terms of that the link will only work if the teacher has started the classroom. That means the teacher first should start the meeting using this link. Please do not go to meet.google.com, generate a new link, and put it here that student today's class is at this link. No, the student has to go through this link, and the teacher also has to go through this link. So when the teacher clicks on this link, the teacher will be able to enter the classroom. Similarly, when a student clicks this link, the student will enter the classroom. The only option to this is the student is only able to enter the classroom if the teacher has clicked this link. If the teacher has not entered the classroom using this link and the student comes and clicks this link, he will get an error. So be sure that if you're using the Google Meet platform, you click the link first before the student does. As a teacher, you have a few controls. You can mute the students. However, mute all is not currently available and it is still under development, which means if you have to mute a student, you have to do it individually, and students can unmute themselves at any point of time. So that may sound a drawback. But if you look at from Google's perspective, since Google is a large company, so to push out any features, it has to do a thorough testing. And this feature became a more requirement during COVID times. So Google is still doing development on it. And just to give you an example, reason why Google or other bigger companies take a longer time to develop. Just for a case of example, Sumbeam is about 15,000 plus students and teachers. So now if Google has to create something which caters to at a global level. So, I mean, you not only look at India, there would be millions and millions of students across the globe using this platform. So they have to make the platform very sturdy and make it in such a manner that it does not crash the system or it does not have any adverse impact on any other functions. So hence it takes a longer time because it goes through a more rigorous testing in comparison to any other smaller platform. So that is why the feature is still in development, and hopefully it should be out within a quarter or so. So currently Google does not have an option to mute all. So, but you can mute the students individually. On the positive side, that even if a student shares the link outside the school, people cannot join it because to join the link, the teacher has to explicitly allow the student if they are not a part of the classroom or they're not part of the meet. So they would not be able to enter the classroom. So that is a positive thing because you know which are the students and you do not have anonymous people joining into your meeting. The other drawback that it has currently is that you cannot restrict the sharing of the screen. So students would be able to share the screen, then teacher does not have a control on it. Again, Google is having that on the roadmap, and it is currently under development. The third thing which I personally wish Google had was that it does not let you see more than 16 participants on one screen at the moment. This is also under development, and you should be able to see 49 once it comes out of development, right? So to start a meeting, I'll click this link out here. And then I just simply say join now, and then others also can click that link and enter into the meeting. So there's nothing very specific about it. So that is how it works. You have a screen sharing option out here, using which you can share your screen. It also gives you a chat option. It's available out here. You as a teacher will cannot, by default, you will not see yourself on the screen if your camera is turned on. You will normally see all the other participants. So like if I'm seeing it right now, I see Reena ji and Suchitra ji. If they are seeing it, they will see me and me and the other person. So if Suchitra ji is saying, she'll see Reena and Google admin. And if Reena is saying, she'll just see Suchitra and Google admin on the screen. So these are certain things to remember. On the other side, as I said, Google is currently developing these features where you have more meeting controls, but they are yet not available. Right. So I'll pause.
So I have one query related to Google Meet.
Yes,
okay. One problem is like in Google Meet, like class timing is 11 o'clock. Okay.
Right. Right.
Then a student like request join the class 11:05. And I accepted the request. Then after some minutes, like 5, 10, 15 minutes, like a student disconnected.
Right.
And class ending time is like 11:45.
Right.
And automatically she joined like 11:40. 11:40 a.m. or something. So how to check out student attending my whole class or not?
Okay. So attendance is currently again is not a feature which is available to the teacher. However, at the admin level, you do have some options where you are able to see when a student joined, for how long they joined, whether they joined from a laptop, from mobile or Android. That is option is visible to the admin. So if you have a specific use case, you can connect to the admin, and the admin would be able to pull that kind of a data out for you. However, I would recommend only to reach out to the admin in case of it is really required, because it's a very lengthy process for our admin to pull that data unless it is really required. There are third-party extensions like Google Meet attendance extension, which helps you to capture the attendance, but that will only capture it on real time, which means if I am taking attendance now and 10 people are there, it will only show me that 10 people are present. So if someone joined after 1 minute before, or someone if they left after 1 minute after the
means again request is the response is not showing. Automatically student joined before the ending of class 5 minutes.
Right. So, but the admin level, which data is available, that the admin is able to pull it out and get that. And the admin does not have it in a very simple method, so he has to lot बहुत सारा उसमें जुगाड़बाजी करके mixer match करके that data is available.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, there is one option I have seen in Google Meet, that is speech to text.
Yes, ma'am.
It's coming as how to activate that.
So when you go to speech to text is an individual option, which means if I enable speech to text, वो सिर्फ मुझे ही दिखेगा, आपको नहीं दिखेगा, right? So if you go towards the bottom of your screen, there is an option called CC, right? So I'll just start this meeting. I'll go join now. And this is turn on captions, closed captions. CC is closed captions. Now I've turned it on. So what will basically happen is whatever I speak, it will automatically type it out on the screen. As you see on the screen now, it is trying to type out all what I am saying. So it
Teacher
will.
students can also see that.
Yeah, so if you have to enable it, it is an individual setting. So if you have not enabled it, you will not see it. So if you are in your Meet, you enable it, you will see it. If the student enables it, they will see it. That's not something that you enable for the student. The students enable it for themselves.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Any
sir,
other
I have
question?
a question. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
In case, like, for example, I of Sumbeam Indira Nagar want to peep into Lehetara's classroom.
Correct.
Will it be possible for me to go with the link available even if I'm not in their classroom?
Yes, if you have the link and you are within the same school, you can go there. Alternatively, as I suggested, is the best method is that you be added as a co-teacher. If you remember, we had spoken about adding other teachers. So maybe from an administration perspective, maybe the principal or the admin department or whoever the concerned person is should be added by the teachers as a co-teacher, so that the principal or the HOD or whoever is looking into it can go into the classroom anytime to see what assignments have been done, and they also will then have access to the link, the stream link, right?
So domain name doesn't make a difference.
No. So you will be only be logged in using your school ID. You cannot log in with another ID.
No, I mean to say that different schools, na? For example, Sun City and Lehertara,
Yeah.
that wouldn't make any.
Yeah. So we are working on that integration. So that should be possible. So, but the basic requirement is that you should be added there as a teacher.
So this
Okay,
ID
thank you.
was created only for the uniqueness, or there is something else?
No. So this ID is basically created to identify the school initially. Also, this ID gives captures, as I said, helps you to store your data. If a student is there, what he's done in the last year, teacher is there. If you want to go back looking at the assignment, and so all those things are there. If you use the end, yes, please.
Yes, no, yes, sir. You please continue.
Yeah. So if you are using a personal ID, आपका ID खो गया, या maybe you are a teacher and you left the job, you have created something, some value towards the school, maybe some course content, other thing. If you go, obviously you will not be, school will not have access to the document that you created. So again, जो नया teacher आएगा या आएगी, they'll have to work again for that content. From your perspective, if you are using your personal ID, अगर आप you are working for school for a long time, तो जितना आप कंटेंट क्रिएट करेंगे, आप एक टाइम के बाद योर पर्सनल अकाउंट स्पेस विल गेट फिल्ड अप. 15 GB may not be sufficient. स्कूल आईडी विल गिव्स यू अनलिमिटेड स्पेस, कि आपको उसमें स्पेस का कोई इशू ही नहीं. Any other questions?
Yes, sir. I have a question. Like for attendance, I use Google Sheet. So can we have a collaboration with Google Sheet in this Google Classroom? Because the attendance is quite like easy over there.
So when you say you use collaboration, can you specify what exactly you mean by that?
While I'm using Google Classroom, so can I go to Google Sheet in this classroom itself, and then I take the attendance at that time only?
But attendance you are taking manually, right?
I'm taking attendance manually.
Yeah, so वो तो आप कभी भी sheet open करके attendance ले ही सकते हैं उसमें. So you can open multiple tabs and do it.
Sir, there is one more question. For example, like when you are saying that when the class teacher opens the classroom, then the students join. For example, I am the class teacher, and 4-5 other teachers also come. So can they use the same link and then they go into they can start with the class?
हर एक क्लास का सॉरी मीटिंग लिंक यूनिक होता है. सो हर एक टीचर का लिंक अपना अपना होगा.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yes, Shashuji.
Yes, sir. How many students can join the class, sir, at a time, or is there any maximum, sir, limit or strength?
So currently, there 250 can join. This is till 30th September. Post that, I think Google will set a limit up to 100 users per class. There would not be any time limits. So.
Sir, I have a question.
Thank you, sir.
Like, sir, I have a question. Like
Yeah,
other platform, there is a time limit or not?
नहीं, Google Meet में कोई टाइम लिमिट नहीं है.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
सबका टाइम आएगा, इसका भी टाइम आएगा.
ठीक है sir.
Sir, one more question, sir.
Yes.
What about, sir, data consumption, sir? Because we are able to take 4 classes through Zoom app.
Right.
So is it possible to take, sir, 4 classes per day through this app, through this medium, sir?
Very good question, sir. But this answer is not a very direct answer. Now I'll tell you what happens is when you talk of data, उसके अंदर बहुत सारी चीजें involved रहती हैं. For example, if I look at the participants right now, I think we have कितने participants हैं? Just see. We have 74 participants. Okay. Now assuming everyone switches on their camera, तो जब if everyone is switching on the camera, which means मैं सबकी वीडियो मेरे सिस्टम पे आ रहा है, राइट? जितने वीडियोस ज्यादा मेरे सिस्टम पे आएंगे मुझे उतनी ही ज्यादा बैंडविड्थ यूज होगी. वन. सेकेंड थिंग, इफ आई हैव गॉट अ HD वेब कैम या मेरा जो वेब कैमरा जो है वो बहुत अच्छी क्वालिटी का है, तो मेरा जो इमेज है वो हाई रेजोल्यूशन में अपलोड होगा. सो जो बैंडविड्थ कंजम्पशन है इट डिपेंड्स ऑन अ लॉट ऑफ फैक्टर्स. इट इज नॉट जस्ट कि आप जूम यूज कर रहे हो या गूगल यूज कर रहे हो या टीम्स यूज कर रहे हो, वेबएक्स यूज कर रहे हो. इट डिपेंड्स ऑन अ लॉट ऑफ फैक्टर्स. प्राइमली जितने लोगों का वीडियो ऑन रहेगा उतनी ज़्यादा बैंडविड्थ यूज होगी. सिर्फ आप ऑडियो यूज करेंगे तो आपकी बैंडविड्थ कम रहेगी. ये किसी भी वीडियो प्लेटफॉर्म के लिए कॉमन है. सो आई कैन नॉट से कि जूम में ज़्यादा लगेगी कि गूगल में कम लगेगी, ऐसा नहीं. इट ऑल डिपेंड्स किसके पास क्या डिवाइस है, कितने वीडियो कैमरा ऑन है. क्योंकि हर एक वीडियो कैमरा, आप ये सोचिए एक यूट्यूब चैनल है, मान लीजिए अब 74 के 74 लोग हैं या 75 है, सबने अपना वीडियो कैमरा ऑन कर लिया, तो मेरे पास 75 यूट्यूब एक साथ चल रहे हैं, चाहे वो छोटी छोटी विंडो में चल रहे हैं, लेकिन सबका वीडियो मेरे पास आ रहा है. तो अगर मैं 75 वीडियोज एक साथ देख रहा हूँ तो ऑब्वियसली मेरी बैंडविड्थ जो है वो ज़्यादा कंज्यूम होगी. अब इस केस में जैसे सब लोगों ने कैमरा बंद कर रखा है, अब मेरा क्या है, क्योंकि किसी का वीडियो नहीं आ रहा है तो मेरी बैंडविड्थ जो है वो कम लग रही है. सो वो आंसर देना कि सर उसमें कम लगेगा या एक में होगा या नहीं होगा, वो इज मोर ऑफ अ टेक्निकल थिंग. उसका येस और नो में आंसर देना पॉसिबल नहीं है. But from a technical reason, I think I have been able to explain it to you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Excuse me, sir. One question from my side.
जी.
Sir, I want to ask कि for online classes, we have to install Google Meet or we can do from Google Classroom.
गूगल मीट और गूगल क्लासरूम दो अलग अलग एप्लीकेशन है. गूगल क्लासरूम जो ऐप है इसमें आप कोर्स कंटेंट बनाते हैं, कोर्स असाइनमेंट देते हैं, रियल टाइम पे ट्रैकिंग होती है. गूगल मीट आपकी वीडियो कॉलिंग के लिए सूटेबल है. तो अगर आपको वीडियो कॉलिंग करना है तो वो गूगल मीट आपको चाहिए होगा.
अच्छा, we have to install this app.
Yeah, both of them have different purposes. ठीक है, क्लासरूम का पर्पस है कि आप असाइनमेंट कराए, क्या मीट का पर्पस है कि आप फेस टू फेस इंटरेक्शन कर रहे हैं. वीडियो इंटरेक्शन, वीडियो एंड ऑडियो इंटरेक्शन. क्लासरूम में आपको वीडियो और ऑडियो इंटरेक्शन नहीं है, उसमें आप सिर्फ शेयर कर रहे हैं.
ओके.
एनी अदर क्वेश्चंस? Okay.
Sunil sir, can we record our classes and then later on send it to the kids if somebody misses the classes?
That also is a yes and no kind of an answer. Currently, Google Classroom, you have an option of recording, which will be available till 30th September. After that, Google may or may not extend it because it is available to on additional cost. It was available
Google Meet, I believe. Google Meet.
Yeah, Google Meet पे recording additional cost पे पहले available थी, but because of COVID they have given it free till 30th September. Post that, whether it will be free or not free, I would not be able to comment.
In case a school is going for a G suit, like for us, for Sunbeam, if we are applying for a G suit, is that not being given to us in that package itself?
No, so the recording is a more of a premium feature. So it comes under G Suite Enterprise Education. So like there are a few colleges who have purchased the Enterprise edition, where they will get the recording feature also after Google stops it for G Suite Education. So for G Suite Education, currently recording is available, but as per Google's latest official statement, it is available till 30th September. If they extend it, then obviously it will be available. If not, then you might have to purchase additional licenses for the teachers, not for everyone, which permits you to record the classes.
And what about, like, you have integrated it with YouTube? What if I am taking a class and I want to do the same? Is this possible with the G Suite that we are taking?
No, ma'am. So currently Google is working on a lot of moderation features. I'll just show you. You are able to see my screen, right?
Yeah.
I'll just show you the G Suite release calendar, so which helps you to see what are the upcoming features. So if I filter out here, so this will give me a list of features that is coming up. So give host more control. So this is in development, muting, presenting, invite only, and more, right? Dialing out, if you want to dial out on a phone, background changing is there. Background mobile and desktop both. Breakout rooms, noise cancellation is already available. Whiteboard polling, so this is there, and live stream. So this is in development currently, and it so you can expect it to be there shortly. Also, it has these options of poll, Q&A, and other things. So most of these things were not earlier a part of Google Suite, but because of COVID and the revamp of these features, now they are in development. The only reason it takes a longer for larger companies to develop it, I gave a classical example like 15,000 अगर वाराणसी में अकेले ही हैं, all over India कितने हैं, और फिर globally लगा लीजिए, तो प्रोडक्ट इस तरीके से उनको बनाना पड़ता है कि वो क्रैश ना हो, ऐसा ना हो कि आज लॉन्च किया कल के दिन सर्वर ही बैठ जाए. So that's why it takes a lot of testing. सारे
No, we
laptop.
understand. Definitely, we do. The features like dividing children into breakout rooms, that also I can't see in this. Do
No,
we
there
have
it is. Yeah, has.
in
Breakout.
development, I believe, right? Yeah, breakout rooms.
Breakout
In development, right? Okay.
These features are there. They are in development, so you can expect them to be launched shortly.
Okay.
But as on date, they do not exist. Any other questions?
Sir, this is sir. Am I audible?
Yes, madam, you are audible,
Yeah.
and I am only visible.
Yeah, this is Sudeshna from college. Actually, I just wanted to know, like, we have workshops for like training programs of 6 to 7 days, like in for a week, and this is which is being done by a external entity. Since this thing is in collaboration with Sunbeam schools and colleges, so is it possible they can also be a part of this classroom thing in case if they also wish to share some documents or anything?
Can you elaborate your question a little more?
For example, if there is a person, if there is an entity that is having a workshop with our students,
Okay.
like for 6 days training program.
Right.
Now they also need to share some documents. They also need to share some activity things and all. So is it possible we can also have this over Google Classroom? Because
Yes.
they are not a part of Sunbeam.
Yeah,
They
so
are
there
an
are two
external-
methods to it. One, they can either share the mail their content over and use it, or maybe you can create a guest faculty account for that specific person, and they can come and use that guest faculty account in use.
So there is an option for guest faculties.
Yeah, so Google gives you an option of creating the accounts for the tasks related to the schools. So some of the colleges and universities, what they do is they keep additional accounts for a guest to come, so they can do it. Even in Microsoft Teams, we have seen that schools that we have trained on Teams, so they also use the guest faculty. Specifically, this is true for the colleges. In schools, that does not happen much, but in colleges, it does happen that they have an external lecturer or some other person come.
Exactly. That was my exact point.
Yes.
So
So
that
yes,
we
you can
have some
create an
guest
account.
faculty.
Yeah. So you can reach out to your local IT admin. They would be able to create an account for the faculty and guest faculty, and then maybe you can temporarily let the guest faculty use that account.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, sir.
Right. Any other questions anyone has? So we'll come back to our freedom, independence, freedom. So most of our keyboards that we have is well suited for the English language, but if I have to type content in any other language, that becomes a challenge, right? Oh, I see. So some of you have responded. So we can go to the originality reports. As I see, I have some content. So I'm coming back to the originality report. Thank you, Smriti, for sharing the content. Here. So we'll come back to the originality reports because Smriti, I'd like to thank her for doing that. Has done a lot of cheating. Just joking. So she's helped you copy and paste it. Okay. So now when I open this, it says 4 flagged passages. That means at 4 places the content has been taken externally, right? And then it highlights those specific matches. India independence, and then shows, if I click on this, it will
So
take
the
me.
highlighted ones, the blue ones are the one which has been picked up, right? This is how we
Yes,
get to know.
yes. So
Okay.
so you basically will are able to see what is there, and it will give you the link out here, like see artsandagriculture.google.com. So these are web matches. So Wikipedia, so it will tell you what you picked up from Wikipedia. So maybe you mixed and matched it, arts and culture Wikipedia, and then what you found on the internet. So it basically uh, does a web search against what data is available on the internet. This one does not does a web search against the students. So if 2 students have copied it, it will not tell you anything that is there on the internet. Tell you. However, the enterprise education does have an option where it will even check against the 2 students if they have submitted the same thing. So if they have copy paste here, so it will check it out there also. Okay, so I'll come back here. Right. As I was saying, that our keyboards usually are suited to type in English, but if you are a language teacher, then there is a problem because सबको हिंदी typing नहीं आता है, and
In fact, we have French as well, Sunil sir.
yes ma'am, that's a question every time I hear that French होता है इसमें, मैंने कहा French होता है, so just I was going to संस्कृत नहीं होता है, because the next I'm going to hear a question, सर संस्कृत type होगा कि नहीं होगा, तो संस्कृत नहीं होता है because Sanskrit uses the Hindi base, so it normally will be there. So if I go to tools and I click on voice typing, here it will give me a lot of languages, lot of Indian languages, international languages. So Spanish is there, French, French होता है कहीं चला गया शायद, and these I don't know what all languages. So मातृभाषा पे आ जाते हैं. So I'll select the मातृभाषा, I'll click on the icon और ये लाल हो जाएगा. अब इसके बाद क्या होता है कि मैं जो बोल रहा हूँ वो अपने आप टाइप होता रहेगा. तो मुझे इसको बीच में क्लिक करते रहना पड़ता है. तो इससे आसानी रह जाती है कि मुझे अगर टाइपिंग नहीं भी आती है या मेरे पास ऐसा कोई कुंजी पटल नहीं है जिससे कि मैं दूसरी भाषा में लिख पाऊँ, तो ये ऐसा. The drawback is that it may not understand all the words. For example, मैंने कुंजी पटल लिखा तो इसने कोई पल लिखा, तो मेरे पास ऐसा कोई पल नहीं है जिससे मैं दूसरी भाषा में लिख सकूँ, right? So it's a good option where it saves you a lot of time. मैं आपको थोड़ा बहुत ही revision करना होगा, but it will save you a lot of effort.
Can we type as well?
For typing is a little more complicated, and it more depends on an individual account settings what you have configured. Right? So you have to choose the keyboard and all.
Oh, so, what about children?
Huh?
In case I have given them an assignment of Hindi, write a paragraph.
Right.
How are they going to write it down? Are they also going to use the same device, like speak and then it automatically gets written?
Reena ji, can I take that question after the session, because it's a very limited question, and then it is more to do with the account settings and rather than Google Classroom.
But Sunil sir, I have many of my Hindi teachers there.
No, I said that's why we'll come to it towards the end of the session.
Okay,
I'm almost there.
Right.
I'm not saying कि हम नहीं करेंगे. I shall come towards it on the end of the session.
Sure.
We'll skip that for the moment, but I'll let you know how that can be done. Right? Anyone has any questions on the topics that have been discussed so far? Anyone has any questions or would like to add any questions?
Sir, how can I make table like in math and stats in these subjects?
Come again?
How can I make table like numerical paper?
Insert table. And then you can put it on. This one? Was you referring to this table?
Yes, sir.
You have an insert table option, and कितना rows कितना column आपको चाहिए, आप can obviously go ahead and do it. Any other questions?
So there is no option for Sanskrit, na?
No, ma'am. No, there's no option for Sanskrit because it uses the Devanagari script, so you will have to rely on uh, the Hindi as a base. Secondly, Sanskrit is not widely used as a language globally, so Google may not have taken that because Google makes products that is more suitable for a larger audience.
Sir, but you have to work on it. Why not?
Ma'am, I can pass the feedback to Google using our private form, but I do not make decisions at Google or Microsoft for that matter. I just train the people out there. So I can just show you what is there and what is yet to come.
Sir, please pass this message.
Sure, definitely we have, and in fact, I'll tell you how you also can directly pass your feedback. So if more people pass feedback, it is easier for Google to develop. Yeah. Any other questions? So we have discussed English, we have discussed Hindi, we have discussed French, we have discussed forms, and what else we have discussed? Assignments. Anyone has any questions now? So what we have, as I said, that the keyboard that we have currently is suitable for English, but other languages it is a bit challenging. So we have a third-party tool. Now, when I say third-party tool, which means this is not developed, managed by Google. It is an independent product. But when I am doing a session for schools, I like to show you this tool because it helps a lot in the maths. Because Hindi के लिए keyboard नहीं है, English के लिए और maths के लिए तो और complicated हो जाता है. So the name of the tool is Equat.io. You can Google it. It is available on Android, iOS, Windows, and Mac as well. So this lets you type in maths and science, right? So when I say it lets you type in maths and science, it has this interface which I've installed, or you can add it as an extension on Chrome. If you add it as an extension on Chrome, it normally will integrate with the Google Forms directly, and so you get the images are inserted directly. But since I have not done that on my system, so we'll rely on Microsoft Word for the moment. What it does is, if I click out here, and if I want to type something, say square root, square root, so it will create that symbol, right? Square root. Because these symbols are not easily available on the keyboard. So that is one option. What are the other things? Square root, pi, right? Pi, these symbols are there. So teachers of maths and science, they would know what exactly they want to do. But it has a library inbuilt where you can automatically search for the formulas. Okay, so this is the formula tab. And here it has all those formulas which you want, which can be geometric radians and other things. For example, standard deviation. Now, this is a very complex thing to type. If you were to type it out on any keyboard, it would take at least 10 to 15 minutes minimum, even if you are able to type. So this is given us the formula. You just go ahead and change the values and stuff.
Sir, how can I search this formula is there?
If you click on these three dots, and then I go to this one. Now there's an option search bar is formula. So if you can tell me any formula, maybe a formula or any theorem or whatever it's termed. I'm a bad math student, sorry. So I am not.
Pythagoras theorem, maybe we can go ahead.
Pythagoras is a square plus b square. That's so. हाँ, पहला था वो याद है मुझे. A2 plus B2. So this it automatically comes out here. So I'll just clear it out. वो टाइप भी आसानी से हो जाता है Pythagoras तो इतना complicated नहीं. So you see it is out here. Any other theorems which are more complex to type? The other one I see is for force, which centripetal force, something like that.
Yeah, Sunil sir, I have a question here.
Yeah.
We have this external apps like we have GeoGebra. So we do Edu Puzzle, we do Mentimeters. Is it possible for us to incorporate those ed tools with Google Meet, Google Classroom?
So, ma'am, when you say incorporate, that is a very vast definition depending what your objective is. Secondly, incorporate also would mean that the other application has a system where it allows us to access data from that. For example, Equat.io has a good function where you can automatically integrate it with Google Chrome. So when you are using your Google Forms, it automatically writes it out there. But I've not integrated that way because I've just recently shifted to Mac, so I'm still learning MacBook. But what it is now suppose I've written this formula, right? Now I can just go and say insert math. So when I insert math, what it will do is it will automatically go to my Word and automatically put this as an image. So it's not basically typing it; it creates an image. It creates an image of this, and then I can save that image as a copy, save as PNG, and upload it to the Google Forms. But if I were to integrate this with Google Forms, I would not have to insert it automatically; it would get inserted out there.
That still doesn't answer my question. What I meant to say was, for example, I am teaching mensuration in maths. I
Okay.
want to show my children 3D shapes in the classroom itself.
Okay.
And henceforth, I want to take a GeoGebra in which it is talking about the 3D shapes.
Okay.
At that very particular moment, how do I bring in GeoGebra with my Google Meet is my question.
Okay, so there are two options to it. One is you can do a screen sharing, which is the old school method where you do a screen sharing, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other option you have is a whiteboard known as Google Jamboard. Okay.
Okay.
So I go to jamboard.google.com. I'll just take a step back. Anyone has any questions on this? The maths and these formulas and all?
Sir, it does not have statistical formulas.
Ma'am, if you tell me, it has all the formulas, that's for sure, since I am not a math student. If you tell me the name of the formula, I'll pull it out.
Okay, if I say any formula from interpolation and extrapolation, so Newton's method of interpolation.
How do I spell Newton?
Newton, N-E-W-T-O-N.
Okay. Newton's second law is there.
Yeah, that is from. No, this is not the formula. I think this is not the formula.
Yeah. So basically, see, one has predefined formulas. The other option is you can type those formulas out here. So it will try to pull out the formulas which has. This is Newton's second law. Was that what you're talking about? No.
No. That is a different statistical. In statistics, we have different formula.
So exponential growth decay. So
No, this is not the one.
Yeah, so it will have it. It's just that you will have to explore it. Since I'm not a math or
okay,
but it has most of it. In fact, it also covers.
I think it is more. It is having more of maths formula rather than of statistics formula.
No, it has maths, chemistry, physics. It covers a large variety of it. So.
So that means I'm in loss. I'm at loss.
Right.
Because I deal in statistics also.
No, it will have statistics also. Any formula based thing, it will have this. Just that's the third party thing, and I'm not very good at maths and these things. So if you explore Equat.io, you will definitely get content which will help you to type it out. Because I know the keyboards are not suited to type volume.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. Thank you.
And that is why I bring this product into the picture, though even it's not a G Suite product.
Okay.
Right. Any other question on this before I move on to Jamboard? Okay, so I'll sign up from here. So Jamboard is like a whiteboard. Okay. So I create a whiteboard where I can insert things. So just like a Google Drive file. So it gives you an option to insert an image, and you have sticky notes. So sticky notes are here. And so when you were talking about the 3D images or something, maybe were you referring to something of sharing the images? Yeah. So you can add the image from here. Upload the image. You can also do a direct Google search for the image. So let's add a math image. Then you have a laser pointer in this. So the students will need to go to this URL. This you can put it as a content of your classroom, so where we share the link. Okay? So as you were talking about links, so you can maybe share it as a link. And then we have this laser pointer. So students are able to view this in the real time. So if you're highlighting any specific image or you're talking about any formulas, something, so you can use this out there as well. So I'm not too sure if it exactly helps you, but this is what we have as called as Jamboard. Whatever you create on Jamboard then further can be added as a content on the Google Classroom. So go back here, classwork, create material, add Google Drive, and from there you can search your Jamboard. So this would be visible to the students on the URL. Okay. It has all those familiar options: post, now, schedule, and other things. I'll post it. And now, if you, whatever I'm doing out here, what I'm highlighting, can be seen. Also, some of the teachers can use this for math. For example, this is step 1. Then on step 2, you can always have the answers, and then you can use the highlighter to highlight the things if you're using it. Right? So by default, a student is only able to view this. They are not able to edit it. And if you want the students to be able to edit it, you'll have to change the sharing permission. Go to edit. Teachers can edit, students can only view. So I'll change it to editor. So Reena ji, now you should be able to edit.
Yeah, I can see it.
So this is as close as it gets as far as the integration was. I'm not too sure if there are any specific other integrations you were looking at, but some of the softwares do have an integration where you can directly call them into your Google Drive without going to their sites. But then that depends from a product to product, and so that's it as it is. Any other questions? Anyone has any other questions?
I guess more questions will flow in when we do practice on it. That is
Yeah.
when we are going to realize that what are the problems and the challenges we're going to face.
Yeah,
So
and
Sunil sir, I hope you will be available even after this, because
yes.
I would love my teachers to practice and get back to us with whatever problems that they
Yeah,
have.
so I would be available. You can connect me through Mr. Naveen, or I think ma'am you would be having my number.
Yeah, I do
So
have your number.
yeah. So one way is maybe you can create a common WhatsApp group and teachers can post it, and then I can respond back, or maybe you can bring it one-on-one or whatever is most convenient method. I also understand that the children also would be having some issues once they start using it, so also that can be routed through a common group where I can address the issues with the children.
Sure, sure.
Right. Any other questions anyone has? Okay, I think the last thing I would said was to the typing in Hindi. I think we'll cover that and then we can close the session. So let's see. So for typing in Hindi, first we have to change the user's language. Okay, so for that we go to myaccount.google.com, or we can go to manage your Google account by clicking out here. And that's why I said it's a bit longer method.
Still, I would request the Hindi teachers to be very, very careful about this and see what are the basic steps involved.
So we will go to data and personalization. Under that we have general preferences. Let's change that. General preferences. So we'll go to myaccount.google.com. Myaccount.google.com. Data and personalization. Under that, we have general preferences, and then we have the language, and we have the input tools. So first we'll select the language, and we can add other languages. So as you see, currently only the English language is there. So let me see if Sanskrit has been added. I put it. No, Sanskrit is there. Added it.
Prime.
Hindi is there. That's done. Back here, refresh this. Let's see there. So now you see this extra menu as bar has come here. Are you able to see it?
Yes, Sunil sir.
Yeah. So now once I've changed it, I can select the language in which I have to type. Sanskritam, Hindi. Then I can basically type.
I believe the kids would also have to do the similar setting.
Yeah, that's why I said it's a little complicated.
Yeah.
And then it becomes to based on a device specific की phone पे अलग तरीके से होता है, हिंदी में अलग होता है. So that is where you get your keyboard. As I saw there, they have a Sanskrit script also.
Okay, it's gonna vary from device to device as well.
Yes, I mean where you will find the option. Mobile में Android में अलग होगा. Now Android settings is decided by the Android manufacturer. Google will only give a base set out there. But Xiaomi वाला दूसरा करेगा, Samsung अलग तरीके से करेगा. So it's a little complicated. It's not straightforward. So that is how it works. This is phonetic. Phonetic basically means that you speak जैसे आप बोलते हो वैसे लिखेंगे. For example, जैसे.
Sir, one question.
Yeah. क्या ज्योति जी?
Sir, question is in assessment, can we give 2-3 line question answer? 2-3 line answer.
Yes, ma'am. You can give a. See, the options are there. Whatever you have to decide which suits best for your use case. तो Google नहीं कहेगा आपने कि दो लाइन का क्वेश्चन क्यों पूछ लिया, 2 लाइन का क्वेश्चन क्यों दे दिया.
Sir, then how we will assess if marks is there?
हाँ?
If marks is there, अगर हमें number देना है, तो how we will assess?
So वो तो आपको मैम जब the child has responded, you'll have to manually review it क्योंकि auto answering तो सिर्फ MCQ में चलेगा. दूसरे वाले आंसर्स में तो आपको मैनुअली रिव्यू करना पड़ेगा. फॉर एग्जांपल ये है इंडिया इंडिपेंडेंस, राइट? नाउ दिस इज द क्वेश्चन. आई एम नॉट श्योर इफ आई हैव ग्रेड इसको नंबरिंग का रखा रहेगा. तो लेट मी ओपन इट. Still loading. टर्निंग वाले पर मैं चीज में भी जाता. तो यहाँ पे आप देख रहे हैं ग्रेड का ऑप्शन. So here I've manually reviewed and then I'll assign a grade. बस देना, ऐड देना है जो भी देना.
Sunil sir, just want to ask one more thing. Will the results be given in an Excel file, or how are we going to get the result? Is it going to compile the results together?
No, so results will always be there on the grades tab, and students will get an individual grade tab. So they will not get a compiled thing. So for compiling, you can always export it as a Excel sheet.
Just guide for that Excel sheet.
Means some children name not come in Excel sometimes.
No, ma'am. This thing, Jyoti ma'am, that is because we don't take for the email IDs compulsory, na. Abhi Google, Microsoft or Google में confuse मत हो ना. It's absolutely different.
I know because There are two different platforms, but as I said, if you have any specific questions about other platforms also, you can always ask me. I'll just see whether they have shifted the export of the grades, because earlier they used to be put it on here. And now I think they have shared. Give me 1 minute. I'll see it. I'll just tell you where the grades. I have to Google it out to see where they have moved it.
And not only the Excel file only, in the when you see the Microsoft Forms, we also get a pie chart and a graph. We also get polls, voting. Are they all available in Google as well?
No, so as I showed you, this upcoming release feature is.
Okay, these are upcoming. As of now, we just have Google Forms.
Yeah, so yeah, these are live stream polling Q&A.
But that's in Google Meet. That's not in Google Forms. Is there a difference? Shouldn't there be a difference?
No, Google Meet. Yeah, in Google Forms, basically you. So when you are saying polling, that is more a part of a spreadsheet. Polling, you can have different types of questions. So what kind of a question you have? Like if you talk for multiple choice question, that is also can be considered as a polling. If you look at this one. That question where I said, when did India get independence?
Yeah, I saw that. But again, it never shows us a graph, or doesn't it show us a pie chart of the responses? Neither have you shown me the Excel. Where does it, we get the responses all together in one place.
Yeah, so when you submit a Google form, it is always submitted to an Excel. So let me see if there's an Excel. Did we submit, or did we do any MCQs out here? This one, no. I think I can give you an assignment. I mean, I can take a test and show it to you. That is MCQ questions. Response. I think this one you have submitted. Or this would have an assessment. So I think some of you have attempted this. So this will come as a form. So that is automatically calculated. Created. So if you have responded to this, so the form should be there. So if you see 4 responses out here. So here you see the points, the rows, where you see.
Yeah.
And then if you want to export it to Excel, then you can just click on create spreadsheet. It will create a new spreadsheet. Or if you want to use an existing one, so here you can basically this is an Excel, so you can create what you want to create. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I'll just
Sir, one question. If
Yes,
we have to give feedback, then here we can give
feedback you can give on the individual
in this
question.
sheet.
No, on the questions itself. On the wherever the questions are, you can give it there. So where the comment option we saw, you remember we saw the comment option. You want me to show it again?
Jyoti ma'am, he's asking you something. Please respond.
Yes, sir.
You want me to show it again?
Sir, I am asking in Excel file where you show the marks, can we give the feedback there?
In Excel, we don't show marks.
No, here, which is showing here.
No, this is not a feedback column. The feedback column will always be out here where the question is.
Okay. Here we cannot give.
No, we cannot give it in the Excel. Any other questions? Any other questions you have?
Sir. Thank you, sir.
Just show you the grading option. They have moved it somewhere or the other. Give me a minute. Let me pull that out. button. So not yet. So here I select this specific assignment and download all created CSV.
Sir, how we'll schedule the meeting?
Meeting does not have to be so meeting. Once you have the link, you can utilize the calendar. So if you go to the classwork, you have the Google Calendar, right? So in the calendar, you will create a meeting invite, and all those who are part of the classroom would automatically get the invite. So I say create. So when you are creating an invite, so if you have got multiple classes, just be sure that you are creating the invite in the correct calendar. Okay. So for example, I'm going to create a calendar. So here it says where is the calendar? It says Google Admin, right? So maybe I don't want to create it in Google Admin. I want to create it for say G Suite Education, right? And then I say more options, online training or online class. I will select the date and time. And if it has to be repeated, that means you want to do it every week or every day, then you can always go to custom and say that it should repeat every week on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So that means this meeting will happen every week on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. If you want to specify an end date, maybe you can say that this will happen till 31st of December. Done. So now this meeting will happen every day, 6:30 to 7:30 till December 31st. And here you can add the Google Meets classroom link. So you will not generate a new link, but you will use the existing link. Copy. Yes. So if a student installs Google Classroom, it will automatically pop up on their calendar 10 minutes before saying that there is a meeting from 6:30 to 7:30, and you can just go ahead and save it. Right? And this will automatically be created for the other days as well. So you see now it's been scheduled automatically Tuesday, Thursday, Friday till the end of December 2020. So this is how it works. Any other questions? Does anyone have any other questions? Score, I think I've already told you to export the grades. So let's show it once more. Select it out here, click the gear icon here, and download grades to Google Sheets or as a CSV. Okay. Any more questions anyone has?